Okay, hi everybody. Good evening. Welcome to today's Saturday open discussion. So today's topic, I'm sure that at some level you resonate with it. So which is why I'm assuming that you have joined in. So the topic is very interesting. Why I keep replaying conversations in my head. Okay. So before we get into the how to stop playing the conversations, let us first try to understand that what are some of the reasons that we helplessly repeat this tendency. Why do we do this? Okay, so now you might have noticed that in your life there have been many incidents, but sometimes a very small thing you keep mulling over it, keep ruminating over it. It could be something that happened many years ago. Still your memory is very fresh about it. Still you know every single detail about it. Maybe some people have a photographic memory that they even remember the color of the clothes that they were wearing. They remember the wallpaper on the back of the wall, the painting, if it was there, everything. It's as though they have time traveled back into that zone, and they're replaying the situation along with the conversations and everything, and they keep replaying this time and again. So generally this happens when we are not happy with the way the conversation ended. We're not very satisfied that, oh, this is how the conversation was with this person. And you may end up feeling that, oh, I'm such an idiot, I'm such a stupid person. This was an attack to me and I did not respond appropriately. I did not think of a appropriate answer, of a clever answer. So we tend to go and revisit the conversation. We tend to go and replay the entire conversation when somehow we are not happy with the way that the other person spoke to us, or we are also not happy with the fact that we might not have taken up a stand for ourselves. So again, we go and revisit that conversation. Sometimes we replay the conversation, just thinking about the hurt that the other person has given us. Many a times we think like this, ki, how dare he say this to me? How dare she? So we just keep on questioning the audacity of the other person. Ki, oh my God, I can't believe he said this to me. I just don't know how he could even utter these things. Correct? So again, we go on, thinking about it, just completely bewildered by the, audacity of the other person. And then we go on replaying the conversation, also thinking that replaying that conversation time and again may actually give us some kind of a hint or some kind of a solution to prevent that pain next time. So we're trying to avoid that pain, what we felt perhaps in this conversation. So we try to replay it that, okay, the next time this happens, I should be in a position to avoid this pain. So it's more of a preventive action. Okay. So let's get deeper into this topic and understand that what exactly happens when I say that a conversation leaves us feeling very unsettled, or when we are not happy with the conversation, we visit it back. So in other words, we can say that we felt very powerless in that situation. Correct? So we felt very powerless. So now we try to sometimes dissect every word of it or scrutinize every word of that interaction to try to understand that, okay, what was their perspective? What did I say? What did they say? And this starts a cycle of, analysis. So what initially, externally, it may look like a healthy reflection that you're doing, but you will never understand how you have slipped into the process of over-analyzing and overthinking. Okay. Yes, Chetan, you have something to say?
Yes. Is it okay if I say something now, or you want this conversation to go further and then we can have a discussion, or can I say something now on this?
Yes, you can say yes.
So, Prerna, basically, I get it what you're saying. Now, this happens a lot in our day-to-day life, whether it's our personal or professional life. For example, if we have a
Okay,
if
Chetan,
we
your
have a
voice is not very audible.
because it's okay. Now is it audible? Hello?
Is it audible to the others on call?
It was breaking in between, but now it is. If you are using headphone, try to speak without.
I'm using my wireless this thing because I don't have my headphone. Actually, is that okay if I continue? Is it okay? It's fine.
Okay, yeah, go on. Your voice is quite feeble, actually. Yeah, but okay, go on. We'll try to make sense of it.
No, basically what I'm trying to say, this happens a lot in our personal as well as professional lives. Like for example, in personal life, suppose something untoward happens if we have a verbal clash with someone, and it happens a lot in corporate offices also. It happens a lot in corporate offices, where for example, if somebody is a senior and somebody has spoken misbehaved or said something untoward. Now, this has happened. I mean, this happens with a lot of us. So, and this used to happen with me also likewise. So, initially, yes, I used to get lost in conversations. Like, for example, if somebody has said something, and then what happens in that moment, because they are seniors, I'm just giving an example. They are seniors, we don't react quickly, right? So, we just, at that time, we don't react. But then after all these things have happened, it's then that our mind starts playing with those conversations in our head. You know, how he could do this, wish I could have reacted that way and all that stuff. So initially I used to get lost in the conversation a lot. But then when I got aware or conscious of these things, now what used to happen then is those conversations play in my head. But then what happens is I'm like a detached observer, a witnesser. I allow those conversations to play in my head. And then I know that this will go for some time because all of us is perfect. Nobody has become a sant or mahatma at this stage of our lives where, we will never be at the effect of these things. We will never get upset or hurt. But what's important is to not get swayed away. So it is like, I hope you are getting what I'm trying to say, all of you guys. When we switch off the fan doesn't switch off immediately. It is like it has having a momentum, right? When it is in an on state. If we switch it off, it will take time. Gradually, the speed will decrease and it will become off. So mind is also like that. The mind is having a momentum for a certain period. So at that time, the thoughts will play in our heads. What's important for us is not to get swayed away. So that in its own time, after that passing of a phase, the thoughts will subside by themselves. I hope you all are understanding. I hope, Prerna, you are getting what I'm trying to say. Do you agree with me?
I don't quite, what you are saying is more of a should be. It is more of a idealistic scenario कि thoughts आएंगे, ऐसा ही होगा, and एक टाइम के बाद वो अपने आप जो है वो automatically वो settle हो जाएंगे. ठीक है? Just like we know. So this is not for certainty. We know that the sun rises in the morning and no matter how hot it is, we have to endure the heat. कभी-कभी AC लगाना पड़ता है, कभी-कभी दिन में 2 बार नहाना पड़ता है, ठंडाई पीनी पड़ती है, but we know for sure that the sun is going to set in the evening. But we have people replaying the conversations which are 10 years old, which are 15 years old. The sun has not set, it seems. Correct? So, जो आप बोल रहे हो, that is a should be, कि ऐसा होना चाहिए. That yes, the thoughts will come, we should observe it, and after a point, अपने आप it will settle down. Unfortunately, that's not how it works.
But my mind is like that now. My thoughts will come and go. Even if it comes, if we are not at the effect of it, how does it matter? I mean, that is just my question right now.
So now you're posing it more like a question. Earlier, you said it more as a statement. Correct? So now you're posing it more as a question. So this is a good management solution that let the thoughts come, I'll observe it, I don't do anything about it. Or even worse, people, they know that this track is playing. So to shut down this track, let me focus on some other track. Some people may think, let me maybe tune into some music. Let me go watch a movie. let me spend time with friends क्योंकि तब मुझे अच्छा लगेगा. We don't want to face the hard things. It's very nice to lighten that moment. मुझे अच्छा लगेगा. We'll do something. But then the minute you are back alone into your room, the minute it's night, everybody is gone to sleep, you are alone now in your room, in your bed, and those thoughts come back. In the middle of the night, you just wake up to drink water, to go to washroom. Those thoughts come back. So it is more like ghosts of the past. Correct? So ghost in this context does not mean somebody who has, passed away. Somebody who is living but who has given you that pain in that conversation, they keep haunting you. That conversation, like a ghost, keeps haunting you. Correct? So this is more of a management solution, how to manage it. Okay, this is how we can, manage it by maybe focusing on so many things. We have so many meetings lined up for the day. We can manage it this way. But you sweep things under the carpet, it accumulates. कभी ना कभी तो carpet उठा के देखना ही पड़ेगा कि कितनी गंदगी जमी है. Correct? So the how part of it, we will come to it a little later in the call. Okay? So now when you said, especially Chetan, जब आपने बोला कि we are, in a conversation with the elders in our family or a person who is having seniority in our workplace, we are not able to respond with authority, and that makes us feel powerless. Okay? So why do we feel compelled then to go back and revisit the conversation, replay the conversation? Because we would have ideally loved to have some sense of control. Some control even I should have had in the way that this conversation navigated, which I didn't have at that minute. So we try to go back and replay to regain that control. Okay. Now, if you learn something from it and then you go back and apply it, okay, I said this, maybe the next time I should learn how to take a stand. Maybe the next time I should communicate this way. Then the matter ends there. It's all well and good. But if you keep analyzing it over and over again, this person said this, but this person is a senior. How do I rebuke back? How do I but reprimand this person? So analyzing those conversations is never going to change the past. The past is, set in stone. So in that way, when we go back, because we desire control, it does not really change the reality, because what we are left with is just perhaps an illusion of control. We feel that yes, by going and visiting the conversation, I'm still in control of the things. But it does not really change the present moment for us. Correct? So this is another thing that happens. And another thing, what happens is that we don't live in the present minute. I remember, one of my friends, so she's not on very good terms with, one relative in her family. So every time we used to, every time she had to go and meet that relative, automatically her body language would change. So she would, she would kind of close her fists into a, mutti, as if, she is just going to punch. And then I noticed this. Why do you, why do you close your hand into a fist whenever you go to meet this relative of yours? And she says that, this lady, she snaps at me so many times that I have to be always prepared to attack her back. Correct? I'm on that vigil mode. I'm on that, attack mode ki ab ye kuch bolegi. In my defense, I also need to, give her like eat ka jawab patthar se. I also have to give her a very karara, crispy, jawab, so that she backs off. But then
you mean fight or flight response? Sorry to interrupt. Fight or flight response, you mean the body can go.
So she's into the fight response, right? She doesn't want to escape it. She wants to stand there and fight. But now she's replaying the past that has happened. Every time this chachi has, come and snapped at me, has said this. So at any minute now, I may have to, snap back attack. And that was clearly visible in her body language, that her body language is, she's closing her hand into a mutti. So I literally told her this, you are like ki kab mukka marna pade pata nahi. So you are almost preparing for a war. You have come like that. And she said yes. And that tension could be visible in her external body language also. That means inner turmoil has already started, which are the external tak visible agar hai to, correct? So the pressure is so intense that she's not in the present moment. She's still in the past, correct? So no matter again how deeply we go and revisit the conversation, the past is not what we can change. Okay. So that sense of control ultimately is putting so much pressure that she's not really able to take life what it is today in the present moment. Okay. So this is again that illusion of control. Okay. So anybody else who wants to say anything on the topic or has anything to ask? Okay. So I'll move on to another aspect of going and replaying and revisiting the conversations. As human beings, we are so used to, something that starts needs to have something called as ending or closure. So another reason why conversations haunt us is because we seek a closure. We want a closure. We will be satisfied and we feel that, yes, I can move forward from this conversation, from this situation, provided I get some kind of a closure. Correct? So there is that unresolved pain. You don't know why the other person did what they did. You have absolutely no clue. Perhaps this person is a person who gave you good memories to count back on. With this person, you had some pleasant memories. And then maybe they are no longer, in your life, as in you guys no longer talk. They are not in your present, ecosystem, but they continue to remain in your, personal ecosystem, within your inner world, within your mind. That, why did this happen to me? Why did this person choose to, abandon me or reject me? Or why did this person choose to let me down on that particular day? I was not expecting this from this person. So that gives us some kind of an unresolved pain, and we don't have an answer for it. And perhaps nobody is there to tell us, and they are also, not willing to give you the answer that why they did what they did. So again, we tend to go back to those conversations, go back to those situations. And now we try to decode the hidden meanings of it. That was it that this person was always like this? Was it that I did not understand that this person was doing it? So again, we try to, scrutinize every angle of that interaction, So when we get into the cycle, initially we feel that, yes, maybe we will come out of we will get something productive out of it. We will get something out of this kind of overthinking or overanalyzing. But one point, we do feel that, it's a very hopeless cycle. Okay, because we are now living by that closure that, I need an answer. We get into obsessive thinking that we are not ready to, accept that this person is no longer a part of our life, and we go on having obsessive thoughts about it. So this is another reason why we feel compelled to go and revisit the conversation. Now, another reason why we may do this is because we want, or we all seek, some sort of a validation. Okay. Now, it can be in a healthy way and it can also be in an unhealthy way. Okay. So we may go back and replay a conversation. It can also be to, understand feedback. Okay. Now, I had a friend who had to go and give an interview, and she had a brief period in her life where she was not employed. So when she went to the interview, the feedback that the employer gave her was that, I don't find your attitude to be very serious. This job is very demanding. This role is very demanding. I don't feel that you are the right fit for this role. And then she came and she kept on, replaying the entire conversation. What happened from beginning? What did the interviewer say? How did I respond? What did he ask? How did I respond? And then she felt that the way that the story that I told, the way that I spoke about my, sabbatical from work or when I was not employed, it perhaps gave the employer a feeling that I'm not very serious about my career choices. Perhaps it gave the employer a feeling that I have a very laid back attitude. So when I go for a job, like when I'm going for an interview for a role like this, which is very demanding, so maybe I had to rephrase my story in this way, correct? So she understood the way that she narrated her story. She perhaps did not communicate it with that maturity. So it was perceived in that way, correct? So now she decided to, take that feedback that, okay, you are not, fit for a role like this, which is very demanding. So she decided to take that as feedback and work on it. Okay, so how do I then now prepare myself for a challenging role like this, correct? So she took that feedback and she started working on it, because of which now she had to revisit that conversation, and now it's over. The feedback was implemented, it was executed, and she has moved on. Now it's over, okay? But there's an unhealthy way in which we do it, and that is when our focus is too much on external validation, okay? For an example, now supposing you go and meet a group of friends, and they are a group of friends who place a lot of value on maybe luxury goods, and then you may feel left out, and then you may go and replay the entire conversation, and you may think that, okay, I had nothing to contribute in terms of my lifestyle or in terms of my spending habits. So next time you may think that, okay, I also want to appear this way in front of them so that they respect me, so that they find me worthy enough to mingle with. So why are you now doing that? Because you want to avoid the pain of rejection in a social setup or within a relationship or even at workplace. We want to avoid the pain of rejection, okay? So then we go and replay our conversation so that हम लोगों के हाँ में हाँ मिला सकते कि okay, this group of people, they seem to be, valuing these things. So we pick up what is it that they value. Sometimes a group of people, they are movie buffs. They watch every damn movie. So now you want to get into that circle. So, okay, you think I'll also talk about movies. I'll also, speak about this, so that they don't reject me. They don't single me out. They don't, keep me isolated, because that pain of rejection is not something that I want to face. So again, we want to, have that kind of a validation. So that can actually go on to become unhealthy for us. Okay. So these are some of the ways in which we revisit our conversations and we feel compelled to do it. Okay, so this is the why part of it. Why do we end up doing these things? Okay, so now anybody else who has anything to ask or anything to say, you can raise your hand. Yes, Chetan.
Is that fine, Prerna, if I continue with it, or anybody else should also be given a chance?
Yes, so anybody else who wants to speak, you may raise your hand. So Chetan, you can continue.
Yeah, my dear Prerna, I have listened with keenness and patience. I listened to everything, and I do get that. Why do we go into the past? So basically, what you have said thus far is the basic analysis of why mind has a tendency to revisit the past again and again for some or the other reason, right? But here, I have come. If you ask me personally, I have come to the stage where I have got the awareness that revisiting the past for whatever the reason is not the solution, because it's not going to serve the purpose. Like, I will give you my example only again. I won't mind giving that. In the previous work environment where I was working, believe me, it is one of the most toxic environments where I had worked in the previous organization. And there was no culture, there was no discipline. If I have to cut it short, वो नाम का एक वर्कप्लेस था. It was just like a social setup where people from various backgrounds used to come, sit. For the sake of working, they used to press their fingers on the PC, and then to atmosphere was there. Now, it's been 7-8 months since I've come to a very new organization, which is a very good cultured workplace. But still, for some or the other reason, those hostile, unfriendly, sarcastic, uncomfortable behaviors of the colleagues still plays into my head, Karuna, to be very honest. Now, I know that's past, it's gone. So, playing of all these, the stuff that plays in my head regarding all that past, regarding that past of mine, serves no purpose. But still it comes. Now, I'm aware that they serve no purpose. No point all those incidents of the past playing into my head again and again. But still mine goes. So the point I'm trying to make through this example of mine, Krishna, is even if you are aware enough that you no need to go back into past, it serves no purpose. You said, like, for validation purposes, for purpose of validation, or purpose of closure, the mind has a tendency to go back into the past. But it doesn't serve any purpose, right? Still mind goes. So irrespective of the reason, what is the solution? How can we put an end to this? That is because we all want solution, right? Okay, we have got the reason. So okay, why mind goes there? Now what is the solution? That's what I am seeking, and I'm sure all of us who are here are looking forward to this.
Okay, yeah, very nice. So yeah, very, very, practical example given by you, Chetan, that generally, yes, what, we tend to remember more is when people are sarcastic to us. Their very tone is very condescending. Their very tone is, putting us down, making us feel inferior. And those are the conversations that we tend to, go and revisit. So before
let me just add one thing. Sorry to interrupt, dear. Let me just add one thing.
Yeah.
Krishna, I cannot tell about others. I cannot comment on others. But as far as my own experience is concerned, what I've realized is, people are like, you can't imagine the behavior of people. They are sarcastic, and sarcastic as if they want to, they do target you. They want to put you down, but they behave in such a way, they do so in such a way that outwardly it doesn't seem hostile or unfriendly. But they do so in a subtle way or in a sarcastic way. And then people defend themselves saying that मैंने इसमें बुरा मानने जैसा क्या है? अरे मैंने ये तो मजाक था. You're getting it? And unless you are aware enough, unless you are clear about your boundaries that no, this is not going to work. And I'll tell you something, one more thing, Prerna. And just let me give an example. I'm sure this is going to be very interesting for all of us to hear. And so I just want to add.
Yes.
People, we follow international cricket. I don't know about the female guys. Maybe there are some female also who are part of this group who must be following international cricket or not, but males generally. Generally speaking, males do follow international cricket a lot. And in international cricket, a lot of sledging happens. And like, for example, if players visit Australia, now Australia is one such place. It's known to be a very hostile place for especially the subcontinental teams who visit there. The crowd boo a lot. The Australian cricketers, they sledge a lot. They are known for sledging. There's the concept of sledging where they say something verbally to disturb the concentration of the opposition player. And it is being taught. It's being preached that you have to be thick-skinned. If you are thick-skinned, then that you don't allow the nonsensical stuff or the verbal stuff of the Australian cricketers thrown at you, then you are being respected also. Okay, so अभी ये जो thick skin है बोल रहे हैं ना, इतना ऐसा फैशन बन गया है, तो अब उसमें what happens is, unless you are aware enough, what will happen? Let's say in corporate office, somebody says something, somebody's behavior is sarcastic or mean or introvert, in whatever it is. And in social media, there's a fashion of being thick-skinned. You have to be thick-skinned. You need to ignore. the behavior of the people. तो आप क्या करते हो, आप उस पर कंसर्न नहीं करते हो, आप ये सोचते हो मुझे भी थिक स्किन होना है, I have to be thick skin to counter the behavior or all this behavior. But what happens is your mind, since that incident of the opposite person is unfriendly, it has a negative vibe, so mind will definitely click. So you are like, you will ignore also, but at the same time mind also plays all those things in your head. Have you understood, Brenda, what I'm trying to say?
Yes. I've understood that. You mentioned about the, you're saying that social media puts a lot of focus on being thick-skinned, right? That was what you were trying to say.
Exactly. You have to counter the behavior of people.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Yes. Okay. So this actually reminds me of one story actually. So recently, I was discussing with one lady, and so she has she's still pursuing her studies after her marriage. She's still pursuing chartered accountancy, and so her husband and mother-in-law, she says that they are quite supportive, but still, there are times where they demand her to be involved in the household things and everything, so it takes away her time from studying and this and that. So sometimes she and her husband, they have a argument, or sometimes she and her mother-in-law also, they end up having some trouble with each other. So, and then she told me that I'm in the middle of a preparation. It's a very, very intense preparation, so I have to make sure that the whole situation does not escalate and it does not become a very big fight. The peace of the house will be disrupted. And she told me that she's also working, so she told me that this is the formula that I also use in my office. So I was very curious, okay, what is it that you do? So she said that I go to my terrace, I close my eyes, and I imagine that my husband has come and apologized to me. I'm so sorry. I didn't know that you were studying. I asked you to make dosa for me. I'm so sorry. She said, I close my eyes and I imagine my mother-in-law coming and saying sorry to me. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you had not slept enough. I woke you up to do this for me. And I'm very sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Then I also imagine my manager coming and, apologizing to me. And then I take a few deep breaths and I feel completely okay. I claim back my power. So I asked her that, does this work? She said it works. It's working in my case. So I asked her, how long does it work? She told me, until the next time, they don't do this again. Until the next time, they don't snap at me again. So then I asked her, then what happens when they snap at you again? Because, you are living in a household where your husband wants you to be serving him. Your mother-in-law wants you to be occupied in some or the other way in the functioning of the household. Your manager will tend to ask you to overstay. So then what happens? What is the life of this ritual that you have established? She said, that is the whole thing about this. Ki ritual to maine bana liya. Ki this is how they will come and forgive me, and then I will let go of this. So I said, okay, what exactly then happens when they do it again? She says, I get angry that I start remembering the previous time also that they spoke this to me. But then I told her, but they have already said sorry for the previous time, because you went to the terrace and you did that imagination. So in your they have already apologized to you for the previous action. So why are you bringing that up now? Now you have to respond to what they did to you today. So why are you bringing that up? Because going by your logic, they have already said sorry to you. So she then, had no answer. She said, I will again repeat the ritual that they have, saying sorry to me for the previous time and for this time. I said, आपका तो फिर list बहुत ही लंबा हो जाएगा, because every time that means you have not truly forgiven them. You have not been able to let go. आप कोशिश कर रही हो, externally you are trying, आप कर रहे हो, but organically it has not happened. Correct? So when we want to get to the how part of it, we have to wait and understand what is it that makes me, react in this way before, trying to fix things with a band-aid. Right? So symptomatic treatment can be given, but we have to go to the root cause. To solve problems like this, to solve issues like this, one has to go back to the root cause. Like, for example, I remember once when I was very small, and then my mom had a, she threw up or something, and then we had one tablet, Vomitab. It is to, instantly stop vomiting. And then she had that tablet, and okay, so I knew okay, so there is a quick fix for this. And then one day she had some, I think my dad, he had some pain in the stomach, and I was very small, and I started panicking that why don't we have medicines for stomachache? And then my mom told me that because stomachache is just a symptom. Stomachache can also happen if a person is fasting and then acidity has built up. Stomachache can also happen if the person has eaten something wrong. Stomachache can happen if there is bloating. So stomachache can happen because of various things. Like, I remember last year, one friend of mine, she had stomachache. She got so many scans done. She went to hospitals and nothing came out. Finally, somebody told her to, reflect in the past, say 1 month, what something different has she done. And then she told that, on July 21st, there was yoga day, and she never exercises otherwise. But on yoga day, she did 100 Surya Namaskars. So it gave her a cramp in the stomach. पूरे साल नहीं करोगे, अभी एक ही दिन पूरा pressure डाल दिया, तो the entire abdomen region had that kind of a cramp, correct? So externally, stomach pain के लिए, we may say some kind of a aspirin or paracetamol could alleviate the pain, but the root cause is different. And the root cause is something that we need to investigate into. Otherwise, all of these things are very good management solutions. Okay, distracting yourself is also a management solution. And then symptomatically treating it, कि ये symptom है, correct? जैसे आपके केस में आपने बोला कि you have now identified the symptom. Okay, कि Prerna, I'm aware of it. I'm aware that I'm still not able to forget this. So you have come to the level of awareness. So you are now recognizing the symptoms, but awareness without taking action, there is always a chance that we fall back into the same pattern. Right? So when we talk about the how part of it, the first question that we have to try to understand is, where is it coming from? Okay, where is this, if I'm still carrying, because these are emotional wounds. Okay, now generally when we talk about the healing journey, people don't resonate with it because the wounds are not visible. Correct? Now, supposing somebody comes with a broken arm, okay, so generally if fracture is not treated, then the arm starts swelling. Like, I remember I had a fracture, I had to wait, my arm had started swelling. At that point of time, imagine if somebody had come and told me कि आपको meditation करना चाहिए, you will feel better. Or somebody had come and told me, you should practice forgiveness. Actually, I was small and I was trying to climb the table or something, and I fell off. And imagine somebody coming and telling me, you have to forgive the table that you fell from. You will feel better. Your swelling will come down. Or imagine somebody telling me that practice gratitude. Practice saying thank you to the table. It made you fall, so you're going to learn something in this. Correct? So I'm not in a position to actually do any of these. I'm not saying any of this are wrong, whether it is gratitude or forgiveness or letting go. But there is a time when all these things will happen more as a part of an organic process. Okay? When I'm in pain, when my arm is swollen, when my hand is swelling, आप मुझे कितना भी बोलो कि gratitude में रहो, ये करो, वो करो, no, the pain is still there, correct? Now we are able to understand this example because the wound is visible. But it's the same thing that also happens when the wound is invisible. Okay, these are emotional wounds. So when we only have an understanding that, yes, I know that I replay these thoughts, I know that I replay and revisit these conversations, it's as good as saying that, yes, I understand that my arm is broken, or I understand कि मेरे पेट में दर्द है, correct? But अब आता है कि ये दर्द कहाँ से आ रहा है, क्यों आ रहा है? कहाँ से आप गिरे? टेबल से आप गिरे, ओके, पेट में दर्द क्यों हो रहा है? क्या आपने गलत खाया? ये क्या हो गया, है ना? सो व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट नाउ इमोशनल वुंड्स, ये कहाँ से आ सकता है? वी आर नॉट बोर्न विद दीज वुंड्स, वी डोंट कम इनटू द वर्ल्ड विद दिस वुंड्स, ठीक है? इट्स द experiences that we have in our early childhood, in our formative years, okay, that becomes a basis of these wounds, and then we further go on accumulating it. Now those wounds, it can come from a motherly figure in our life, our mother or whoever played the role of a mother in our life. It can also come from the fatherly figure or anybody else who played the father figure in your life, correct? So these emotional wounds come from both of them. So this forms the basis for insecure attachment style. So the way that we attach ourselves to other people, the style is insecure. It is not secure. Because if it is secure enough, then we will not make it about us. Okay? If somebody is not able to appreciate us, we will not make it about us. So when somebody is not able to appreciate us, you're saying that somebody was very subtly, actually, they were being sarcastic. We don't know that actually they intend to pull us down, and at a later point of time, we understand, this person to just, let me down. So somebody is trying to be, manipulative, and somewhere it drags us down. So our sense of self-worth was somewhere low. We were vibrating at perhaps a low sense of self-worth, because of which that incident affected us. And the fact that that incident continues to have an impact on us even today. Now, the impact is not visible like a swelling of a broken arm, but somewhere in our personal ecosystem, in our inner world, it continues to have a subtle impact on us. Which is why if you meet another person who will behave in the same way with you, it will reinforce that belief system that, this is not the first time, ye pehli baar nahi hua hai. This is not the first time that I have experienced this kind of language, this kind of manipulative tendency. Mere saath baar ho raha hai. Correct? So when we try to understand where this wound is coming from, in my formative years, where have I been let down? Okay? So now we try to go back into our own cup, and we try to see our cup. Whether we are carrying a cup which is, filled with, bitterness. So if it is true, then we will neither be able to let go of those painful conversations, and there is a very good chance that we will fall back into the trap of repeating the pattern. Right? So future में भी ऐसा ही होगा कि future maybe if you meet anybody else, it could be the first interaction with that person and they happen to speak the same kind of language, the same kind of tone. The hurt, the wound is already there. It will go and layer on top of it. And it is also something that will add on now to that list of conversations. Correct? So when we only understand कि हाँ मेरे पेट में दर्द है, मुझे पता है मेरे पेट में दर्द है, हाँ मुझे पता है कि I have swelling. Generally, actually that day when I fell from the table, I understood कि the pain is severe. But only when it started swelling, I understood कि अभी बहुत गड़बड़ हुआ है. We have to go to the doctor. So when we only understand our attachment style, okay, this is the way that I get attached to people. It is just having that initial awareness. But unless you work on that style, and working on that style means you remove those blocks, because our belief system gets rewired that way. Correct? So working on understanding your styles is the first step. Understanding how I relate to other people, what is my style. तो आपको पता चल जाता है कि अच्छा किसी भी सिचुएशन में ये मेरा स्टाइल है. करेक्ट? अब जैसे आपने बोला कि somebody is sarcastic, somebody is like this. I'm sure that not every person, will remember this for these many years. Like I have a neighbor and he is the, president of our association. उनका nature कैसा है कि he's, truly a raat gayi baat gayi kind of a person. Somebody, we had like a lot of, problem with the once garbage and once the water and everything. And people were calling him up and, shouting at him and all of that. And he was like, a post like this is going to come with, feedback, and is going to come with this kind of a feedback, and it's a part of it. It's a package. अभी मैंने ये post ले लिया है कि भाई मेरे को housing society का president बनना है, तो it's just a part of it. I cannot stop people from feeling disappointed. ये उनका disappointment है, मैं अपना नहीं बनाऊंगा. He has that nature कि रात गई बात गई. So he's operating from that secure attachment style. Correct? So when we speak this kind of language that no, even today I remember the pain that I went through, and if it is still hurting you, okay, see, it's not that when we start healing ourselves, we start forgetting it. The point was never about remembering and forgetting. The point is that when you remember those conversations, you feel that emotional charge once again, what you had perhaps felt back then. Okay, so my friend who said, I go to the terrace and I meditate, every time a fresh attack was done by her husband, by her mother-in-law, by her manager, she was remembering the whole lot of things and feeling that emotional charge in her yet again. So remembering is fine. We all remember petty things from our childhood. This person pushed me, I fell down, this and that. But then it's all about that emotional charge, and then we are not able to let go. We are not able to move on. Okay. So this is the first part of the how. Okay, understanding your style and then working actively now to remove those styles. So I'll just pause here and check with all of you. Any questions, anything to add? नहीं? ठीक है, सब बढ़िया चल रहा है फिर. Then I am assuming that I'm making sense and you all are with me on the same page.
Yeah, I just realized that I was thinking that I am healed and already moved on with these situations, but now after listening to you, I think I'm still there with the example you told me that we thought we have been healed and moved on, but we are not.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to work again.
Right. Avantika, you want to add anything?
Yeah, hi Prerna. So like you said, so I had been wondering, problem is identified, but how to do it? So while I was looking for a solution on how to just, what is the next thing? Like a week or two back, once I was doing this exercise with one of the AI chat bot, and I was trying to find an answer, like what answer should I have given in that particular situation. Okay, so this time, out of let's say n number of situation, I was working with one situation in the past that keeps on coming back. And this time, after refining the answer, obviously it was like a cruel answer, which I would have, I think in current time, that if I would have given that answer, it would have been a level playing game of in the situation that happened on the lines that we were discussing during the beginning of this call. But as of now, it's not been a very long time and I haven't been in such a situation again to see a long-term impact. But I somehow felt that finally finding that answer, which was cruel enough to be given in that situation, gave me some level of closure. And for this time, that situation has been pushed out of my mind as of now. So what do you think about it? Is this the right approach?
See, that only time will tell. Correct. So when we work on our attachment styles, and now when you can talk about your story like it happened with a third person. Okay. So now supposing somebody did something very wrong to me, they did something very bad to me, and I carry a lot of grudge, I carry a lot of anger. I felt betrayed, I felt dejected. So I'm carrying that wound, I'm carrying that pain. But when I go through the healing journey, when I process all those hard feelings, then I may be able to talk about it like the way it happened to another person. Like when I'm telling you the story of my friend who goes to the terrace, it's not my story, it's her story. So there is no emotional charge. But when she was telling the story to me that, this ritual is only up to the time they don't do this to me again. So there was an emotional charge in that conversation, correct? So letting go of that conversation, of that situation, or say forgiving the other person or moving on, all these things are not standalone practices. All these things are an outcome of healing. We don't look at it this way कि इसने मेरे साथ ऐसा किया, let me sit today and forgive this person. Let me let go. मुट्ठी खोल देंगे. Like that girl, she used to have her fist closed. मुट्ठी खोल दिया तो let go कर दिया. ऐसा नहीं होता. All these things should organically come as a part of your healing. It doesn't come. I'm not saying that forgiveness or gratitude or letting go, they are wrong practices to have, but when you directly focus on that without understanding yourself, that where is the wound coming from? Like in your case, you said that I wanted to give back a cruel reply and I kept thinking, I was chatting with the AI bot. So somewhere the validation of that person mattered to you.
Actually, at that point of time, I was so, I went so blank, I didn't even realize what happened. And that is what pains me. That how could I not realize that what is the degree of something that was being said?
Yes. So when we come...
Prerna, when you say that healing, or when you say that you have to process that emotion that we are facing problems about, can you please elaborate more on that? What do you mean by that?
Yes, surely. Yes, a very good question. So when I say about healing, or when I'm talking about accumulated wound, okay, we can also call it actually that, or a common layman term, they say we want closure, correct? We started with it only. We want closure, okay? So in the healing language, that closure is what we call healing grief, healing the grief that is associated with it, okay? Now, most people, they think that grief is something that happens when a person who is living departs from this world, okay? But grief not only happens when somebody departs physically, they die. Grief also happens when you lose a significant relationship in your life. Grief also happens when people lose some part of their identity, okay? Sometimes people can just move cities. They can feel completely lost and lonely in the new city. Then there is that grief which is associated with it. Sometimes, there maybe are two siblings who are very close. They had very good childhood together. They had a very close bond growing up as siblings. But now, say, generally we see that, siblings, when they grow up and they get married, they get involved into each other's life. And sometimes, there is this legal battle. Then now they are into a legal battle for inheritance. So now that bond is no longer there. Last year somebody was telling me that some houses, Raksha Bandhan is very nicely celebrated when there are children and all, and then the same two children, when they grow up, they are in a battle for inheritance and it is lost. And while discussing with one person, so she said ki I don't any longer feel like a sister. I feel like I've lost that relationship. So again, there is grief associated with it. She has a brother who's living, but it's no longer that relationship. So when something was significant to us, say a job was significant to us, a project was significant to us, you are involved in a project that gave you some sense of significance, okay? You felt significant by being a part of something, and that is taken away from you. So there is some grief which is associated with it. Okay, so which is why we then get so upset and then we go seeking for closure. So now that pain has to be processed. That journey has to be processed. So that transition has to be processed. That it's no longer going to be the same equation with this person. So we have to accept what we already know. So we know that this person is now not going to be there for us, not going to take a stand for us. We know it. But that acceptance is not happening, and it is not happening because we have not probed into our attachment styles and understanding where those attachment styles are coming from. Correct? So, jab tak we don't sit with ourselves and, do the hard part of it. Like, for example, abhi Feb hai, theek hai. So many people, they said ki Jan say we are going to wake up early, we are going to do this and that. Usme se they say 17th Jan is the day by which most of the people, they break their resolutions. Now, how many people stand before the mirror and ask the hard question, ki, why am I not able to keep up with my regime? What stops me? Where is my resistance? Then we look around. अच्छा, इसने भी तो जल्दी उठना बंद कर दिया. अच्छा, उसने भी तो जिम आना बंद कर दिया. Then it's a good enough excuse. ये भी तो करता है, वो भी तो करता है, तो let me also stay like this. So now when we see other people giving witty replies, harsh replies. हम movies देखते हैं जहाँ पे those dialogues are very nicely fragmented, they give such nice replies. तो फिर हमें भी लगता है कि बाकी लोग भी तो कर रहे हैं, तो हम भी करेंगे. So we use that as a strategy. But again, that is more of a pain avoidance strategy. We have not gone deep within to address our wounds about how is this thing impacting us and hurting us. So it will continue to be that, surface level playing only. Am I making sense, Avantika?
Yeah. Right, Prerna. I'm processing what you are saying.
So essentially, when something is very important to us, could be a relationship, could be some project, could be a company that we're working for, something is very important to us. It's become a part of our life. And we see that either it is no longer there with us or either ये थोड़ा अभी बदल गया है. ये प्रोजेक्ट से पहले जैसे अपने को लगता था, नाउ अभी वैसा लग नहीं रहा है. वो अभी क्या बोलते हैं उसको, जायका, that flavor that we initially felt, वो अभी मजा नहीं आ रहा है. That flavor, we don't feel that support anymore. We don't feel that warmth anymore. Okay? So there is some pain associated with it. And when we do the healing journey, we process that grief now in awareness. Okay? So there are two ways of processing that grief. One way of processing grief is by continuously blaming the other person. कि whatever happened because of the other person, क्योंकि उनके संस्कार अच्छे नहीं है, क्योंकि उनको manners नहीं है, because they don't have etiquettes, they are not very polished in their behavior. So one way of grieving is that way of grieving where the complete onus, the burden is on the other person. Correct? But we all know कि nobody is 100% good or 100% bad. Correct? So in that grieving, there is that constant battle between blaming the other person and refusing to take responsibility for how we are feeling in the process. Correct? तो आपने कहीं ना कहीं लाइसेंस दे दिया कि ये मेरा दुखती नस है. This is my nerve which pains. तो कोई और उसके ऊपर हथौड़ा मार के चला जाएगा. Somebody comes and hammers that nerve of yours and you will start bleeding yet again. क्योंकि हमेशा उस पे हम लोगों ने अच्छे से बैंडेड चिपका के रखा हुआ है. कोई आके बैंडेड को उखाड़ के चला जाएगा, you will start bleeding yet again. Right? So when we grieve in awareness, then we try to understand that, okay, as a child, I've been carrying these wounds, which I've never addressed. And over a period of time, I've accumulated these wounds. So my cup is full of those beliefs that somewhere I'm not worthy enough, and that's why this person took the liberty to speak to me this way. That belief then reinforces. But when we grieve in awareness, then many things happen organically as a part of it. Letting go happens, forgiving happens, moving on happens, because now your identity is established in your self-worth, and it is not for somebody else to assign it to you.
So, Prerna, if I understand you correctly, is what you are saying that whenever there is a situation, we have to continuously remind ourselves the problem is at the other end and not at our end, and that will help us let it go.
नहीं, आपने तो पूरा उल्टा ये ट्रेजेक्टरी ले लिया. The problem was, see, everybody is actually responding from their story. Correct? Abhi, if I ask the other person who was sarcastic to you or who said something like that to you, from your perspective, you are saying that I felt like this, I was shocked, I didn't know. If I talk to that person will have a good enough reason maybe to do that with you. So his perspective or her perspective of the story, तो सब लोग अपनी कहानी में वो हीरो है या वो राम है और दूसरा पर्सन विलन है. ठीक है? तो ऐसे अगर जीवन को जिएंगे तो कितने लोगों को विलन बनाते रहोगे आप. करेक्ट? कितने लोगों को आप विलन बनाते रहोगे कि इसने ये किया, इसने ये किया, इसने ये किया. So the whole compass has to point towards you, that why is this hurting me? Now, it does not mean that if you take the healing journey, you will become a robot and you will be devoid of emotions. कि कोई आपको पत्थर मारेगा तो आपको दर्द ही नहीं होगा because you have taken up the healing journey. दर्द होगा, but you will now understand that it has nothing to do with me. You will grieve for it for a brief period and you will move on with your life. आज का टॉपिक हम लोगों ने इसीलिए लिया that we have unresolved pain of many years, decades sometimes, and that becomes unhealthy because it keeps us stuck. It wastes our time. कुछ लोग बोलते हैं कि हमने 3-4 साल ये थॉट को रिप्ले करके टाइम बर्बाद कर दिया. वो 3-4 साल में पता नहीं हम क्या कुछ अचीव कर लेते, अकम्प्लिश कर लेते. करेक्ट? सो the whole point is towards us. So I'll give you a very good story because you said ki, is it always their problem and not ours? So one lady, she went to take an interview after many years of break. She had like a decade of gap in her resume, and the interviewer just asked her one question ki, "Kyun madam, why you're having such a big gap?" And she said, I had an unfortunate experience in my previous organization. One person, he actually engaged in inappropriate behavior with me. He molested me, and that left me with a trauma. And she said, he wasted 10 years of my life. So the interviewer, he said that, no, ma'am, I don't agree that he wasted 10 years of your life. And she got completely angry and agitated. And she said, you are a man and that's why you are saying that you're supporting a man. So he says, no, I'm not saying this because the other person is a man and you are a woman. I'm not supporting the act that he did. I am in no way saying that he molested you and that was right or that was appropriate. I'm just saying that what he did was wrong. But he did not waste 10 years of your life. You allowed that incident to impact you for 10 years of your life. He did what he had to did and he went away. You sat with it for 10 years. You replayed that again and again for 10 years. He has left the scene 10 years back. वो आपके जीवन से चला गया है. आपने वो कंपनी छोड़ दी. You have sat with that thought for 10 years of your life. So you wasted 10 years of your life. Is it making sense, Avantika?
Yes, it does make sense, but I think I'm still missing some piece. Can you please help me point out some book that you recommend on this topic to read? Because I am missing a link between where I agree to you that we can't sit blaming the other person, but then if we start thinking, why is it impacting me? It's still the same situation. We are still replaying, why is it impacting me? And we are still being
we are not
harsh to
replaying.
ourselves.
नहीं, we are not replaying. अभी अगर आपके पेट में दर्द है, अगर आप घर पे बैठ के सोचोगे मेरे पेट में क्यों दर्द है, आप बोलोगे कि हाँ मैंने कुछ कुछ गलत खा ही लिया होगा यार, पेट का दर्द तो हम ऐसे ही बोलते हैं. But after 3-4 days, it doesn't stop. You go and visit a physician. And what is a doctor today without equipments? What is a doctor today without tests? He will ask you to undergo test कि क्या है, ट्यूमर है क्या देखना पड़ेगा, स्कैन करवाना पड़ेगा, एंडोस्कोपी कराना पड़ेगा. Because we have to rule out all possibilities कि ये है क्या, कहाँ है, क्यों है, करेक्ट. तो आप जो बात कर रहे हो कि आप एआई असिस्टेंट से चैट कर रहे हो, आप ये कर रहे हो, तो आप ये एक्सपेरिमेंट कर रहे हो. बट वुड यू डू दैट इन केस यू हैड अ स्टमक पेन? सो यू वुडंट डू दैट. यू वुड गो एंड वर्क विद अ प्रोफेशनल जिसको नॉलेज है इस चीज का, करेक्ट. सो DIY is a very hard process. Do it yourself is a very hard process by reading books. हाँ, if you can commit to it in the disciplined way कि I will read it and I want to have this DIY, आपको experience मिलेगा. जैसे the whole YouTube is filled with videos on how to stop overthinking, how to stop this and that. But लोगों को हो तो तभी भी रहा है ना. कुछ लोग अपना जुम्बा क्लासेस और अपना फिटनेस ये फ्री कर देते हैं यूट्यूब पे. Going by that logic, why are people paying fees to the trainer and to the gym? Because they want a structure of accountability. They want somebody to hold them accountable. They want somebody to do the hard things with them. कि आपको इतना पुशअप आज करना ही पड़ेगा, आपको ये डाइट आज फॉलो करना ही पड़ेगा. There is enough help out there. There is enough knowledge out there. तो अगर आप knowledge के पीछे जा रहे हो कि मैं ये बुक पढ़ लूंगी तो it will resolve my things. Knowledge is already available. Google is there. YouTube is there. There is LinkedIn. There is Instagram पे अलग-अलग psychologists के perspectives है. But वो क्या है? It is again just going to build your awareness. Action के बाद तब आएगी when you are willing to face the hard questions. When you are willing to put in the work. When you now actively participate in removing the blocks. कि भाई मैं यहाँ पे आपके अटक क्यों जाती हूँ? Why do I come and get stuck at this point? Why beyond this point I'm not going? Correct? So in the DIY, generally people do not have that kind of patience and discipline to sit with themselves. We cannot sit with ourselves and ask those questions. We cannot sit with ourselves and do that kind of journaling. It's in the process is overwhelming, and we will tend to maybe after 3 days time drop it. Momentum abhi hai but wo छूट जाएगा. So it's always advised that you to understand deeper that यहाँ तक आके मैं अटक जाती हूँ कि this and this I've resolved, but यहाँ पे आके जो है I just move forward and I come back into the same track. तो यही होता है कि the first step to the how process अगर आपने नहीं किया है, that is to understand where the wound is coming from, is to understand the insecure attachment style, because the language that you're speaking, it is coming from that insecure attachment style. Correct? The language that you're speaking, that if I sit and think about the why, that is also a never-ending process. So that language itself is the language of a person who has not put in the work to sit with those difficult questions. So until we do that, until we go back and we see what is the cup that we are carrying, what is our cup filled with, neither we can let go of this conversation, and neither we can we will keep, there is a very good chance we'll keep falling back into the same trap. Future में भी ऐसा होगा, so it will be that. Yes, Avantika.
Yeah, Prerna, I was actually trying to understand, like you explained everything in the beginning of the call. I thought you will explain more on the procedure that you were suggesting. But I think I need to do my own some part of the homework to understand this better.
Correct. No, it's a journey that we recommend people to go through. It's not something which happens like, there is no switch. क्योंकि जब ये conversations हमारे दिमाग में चलते रहते हैं ना, so we don't know where is the switch of this conversation, how to switch it off. It keeps going, correct? So even the healing journey that we talk about, there is no switch organically. It's a process that we have to go through. Okay, so thank you. Anybody else who wants to ask anything, add anything?
Prerna, good evening. Akhilan here. I'm sorry, I joined late actually. So, see this repeating thing, no, like see, even though at some point in time or other, it gets switched off. But if in future, if it is going to again recur again, gets triggered by some other events, how to handle that?
हाँ, एक्चुअली क्या हुआ है कि ऑलमोस्ट रामायण जब खत्म हो गया तब आपने ज्वाइन किया है. So we just discussed quite a bit on the the how part of it. So I spoke today about how we initiate the process. Okay, so how we initiate the process of addressing those emotional wounds that we carry. Okay, so maybe once this call recording is uploaded, you can go back to it and you can listen to it.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you. Yeah, just what I joined late. Yeah, thank you. Definitely, I will go through the recording.
Yeah, correct. So, see, everybody has their own timeline to when they want to start addressing these things. Okay, so the fact that you guys have joined the conversation, somewhere you resonate with it. Ki, हाँ, I have this tendency, I do carry this tendency, but everybody has their own timeline as to when they are ready to take action, correct? It's more like a hamster wheel of rumination. So this pattern of going on, revisiting the thoughts, replaying the conversations, there is a word for it called rumination, correct? So we are running on that hamster wheel. So there is nothing like this is the right time to get off the hamster wheel or this is the wrong time. Everybody makes a choice to stop running that wheel when they are ready and when they are truly ready. Okay. So we know that, when we stop that storytelling that is going on within our head and everything, what we see underneath is, difficult emotions. What we see underneath is pain. What we might see underneath is anger. तो एंगर का भी लेयर उठा के देखोगे कि एंगर भी क्यों है, उसके नीचे जनरली पेन होता है. People when they are very angry, okay, we say angry, but actually below that anger there is actually pain associated with it, grief associated with it, correct? So all these things, they get embedded one on top of the other. So that is why we say that healing is a journey and healing is a process. You peel off one layer only to realize that, okay, this wound actually came from this place. And why it is so scary to, put in the hard work? Because nobody teaches us to sit down with these things and, process it. Because we have seen our caregivers, put on a happy face and move on like nothing ever happened. So we did not see our caregivers process pain in healthy ways. So we did not see them following healthy practices. So we just think कि ठीक है, बाकी तो कोई लेके बैठा नहीं है, लेकिन अपने मन में सब लेके बैठे हुए हैं. वो visible नहीं है, it's not a broken arm, swelling नहीं है, तो लोगों को शायद पता नहीं चलता, but the intensity of it is felt, within the mind. And when we say that I'll think of a solution, mind cannot think of a solution. If the mind was so intelligent that it could think of a solution, then the mind would not have created this problem in the first place, right? So that is where we need the guidance of somebody who can give us an unbiased perspective. खुद से करने की कोशिश करेंगे तो we will somewhere get lost in the way. We need the guidance of somebody who has walked that path and who can hold us accountable and who can guide us along the path. Okay. So this is where the action taking part of it comes. So generally, the open discussions are not a medium of coaching. So some of you may share your personal experiences and we will give you our perspectives, but it is not in any way a substitute for coaching. In coaching, जैसे डायबिटीज के लिए सबको पता है कि आप शुगर कंट्रोल करो, है ना, बट केस टू केस डायबिटीज का जो इम्पैक्ट है वो अलग अलग होता है. एंड डॉक्टर को पता है, मेडिकल बुक्स आर अवेलेबल एवरीवेयर. आप गूगल करके आप देख सकते हो कि which tablet do I, which Ayurvedic चूरन do I take for diabetes, but it can have contraindications. तो आप एक फिजिशियन के पास जाओगे, you visit a doctor, Ayurvedic practitioner, and then you ask him कि मेरा ये भी एक चीज है, तो मेरे लिए क्या ये दवाई जो है वो suitable है या नहीं. Correct? Because it can have contraindications. So that is why there is we refrain from giving some kind of a general advice कि gratitude कर लो सुबह सुबह उठ के या रात को बैठ के forgiveness कर लो and it's a one stop solution. So these practices are good. There is merit in these practices, but आप वो करके भी, अब अगर कोई gratitude करके if somebody is feeling कि yes I'm happy, it's not bothering me, then yes the process worked for you. Letting go करके, forgive करके भी you're feeling कि no longer that thought bothered me, then okay, that process worked for you. But ये सब standalone practices करने के बाद भी, after doing all these standalone practices also, somewhere you have not been able to let go of that pain, then you have to acknowledge that work needs to be done. Correct? Then that is the timeline that you have to decide when you're truly ready to put in that kind of work. Okay? So I'll stop here. Anything, Tarunji, you want to add? Any closing thoughts from your side?
Thanks, Prerna. You gave lots of in-depth treatment to this particular topic, which is very common from all the aspects of relationship, work, career, etc. And I enjoyed the session. No more points. Back to you. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes. So Avantika, just answering your point that I thought that you would talk about the how part. So we talk about how to address it specifically. In your case, what were your pain points, how to address it. So that is something maybe when you're ready, when you truly feel ready, you can approach for a one-on-one guidance for any kind of additional support that you may require. But yes, we show you the trajectory. This is the path to it. Okay? So how you wish now to walk on the path is a decision that you have to make. Okay? There are many good coaches, there are many good practitioners who are there. You can, make a choice to work with anybody, because doing it yourself is experimenting. Okay? So books, yes, you can, there is a repository of knowledge on YouTube. So that is there, that has always been there. So that is something that one can always do. And yes, this is the other way to do it. Okay, so knowledge के लिए अभी shortcut है, YouTube है. Experience के लिए unfortunately कोई shortcut नहीं है. Experience is something that the person only has to go through. Okay, so I had a lovely evening with all of you. So please join us for the next Saturday session, which will be facilitated by Akarma and Anamika. And thank you so much for joining in today. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Prerna.
Thank you, Prerna.
Bye.
Thanks, Prerna.